On today's vlog, we're going to be playing Tonari by IDW Games. Let's get fishing.
First there were the winds that blew the sails, followed by the rains that raised the seas. Then there was the ocean's surge that pushed out the boats and set them free. In the haze of the post-storm sun, the people of Kukinoshima gathered on the shores of their island. There they were surprised to see, amongst the froth of last night's angry sea and the debris of boats too weak to survive the rough tides, a single dinghy still tethered to the shore. Pretty soon, the entire island was arguing over who should be allowed to use the boat to catch the day's fish. Unable to decide, an agreement was made. The 2 to 4 best fishermen would take the boat out together, and when they returned, they would share the fish they caught with the whole island.
Hey Sarah, how's it going?
Hi.
So what are we playing today?
Today we're playing a Tonari, which is a 2 to 4 player game from IDW Games. It is pretty simple. In it we are players who each share this boat, but we are competitively trying to maneuver the boat to collect fish. And different fish will score in different ways, but essentially there's a bit of set collection, there's a bit of a race. So we are collectively using the same boat to move around, but competitively trying to acquire the right fish and the right number of fish and that kind of thing to score some points. There's a good introduction to the book which explains the game well and thematically. Would you like me to read that to you?
Sure.
Okay, it says, in Tonari, 2 to 4 players each take on the role of fishermen from a small island after a storm has left them with only one boat to fish. While all the fish must be shared when the fishermen return to the island, each one still wants to prove their prowess by catching the most and best fish. Each turn, each player will take control of the boat and decide where to pilot the dinghy. When they move into a new space, they collect fish there. If a player finds that they cannot move the boat into a space with any fish, the game ends, and the fishermen think that they have caught all the fish possible for the day. At the end of the game, each player scores the fish they've caught, and in a 3 or 4 player game, the fish that the player to their left caught. So while players might find it tempting to set the boat on a poor course for their competitors, they may end up harming themselves. So that's a good sort of introduction to the game thematically and mechanically. It's really, really simple. On your turn, you just move the boat one space adjacent to its current location and collect whatever token you land on. There are several different types of fish. We've got the red, green, yellow, and blue fish. Those are just a sort of set collection thing. The more of them that you have, the more points they're worth. So if I have 3 red fish, it's worth more than if I have 2 red fish. So for the standard colored fish, you just want to collect a lot of any one color and hope or plan that it is not a color that your opponent is also trying to collect. For the shrimp, at the end of the game, whoever has the most shrimp gets 8 points and no one else gets anything else. There's also some debris. There's 2 debris tiles, and anybody who's stuck with those at the end of the game loses some points. And then there are action tiles, and the action tiles just take place as soon as a player would collect them, and they let us do various things to sort of influence or manipulate the game. That's it.
Awesome. Well, it seems like this will be a pretty quick game, so we might not have a mid-game. But
Last time says 30 minutes. I'm assuming that's probably correct because we're probably going to want to think about things and that kind of thing.
So yeah, so we might have a mid-game, we might not, but we'll get back to you guys in a little bit after we play a little bit of Tonari from IDW Games. All right, toodles. Hello, Sarah. So we are at the end of the game already. How did that go?
It didn't take long. A fisherwoman I am not. So this is our board state at the end of the game. As you can see, we only really explored half of the board before the game ended. And that was due to a strategic sort of decision on Nick's part where we were in a position where we could have kept going and sort of explored over here some more, or he could have made it so that on my turn I would have had the only move left in the game, and then the boat would have been like, there wouldn't have been any fish around it, so the game would have ended. And he decided to do that because he was able to manipulate the game with the special tokens in such a way that he totally smashed my face at that point in the game. So it was a good time to end it for him because he was definitely ahead. And based on the way that he ended it, he was able to swap 2 of our pieces. So he gave me one of his little yellow fish, but he took my only red fish. And because of a token that had been previously collected in the game, red fish were going to score twice as much as normal for every player at the end of the game. But by taking my only red fish, he made it so that he got double the amount of red fish he would have had otherwise, and he would have been the only player allowed to score for them 2 times. So it was a solid move on his part. He did another thing earlier in the game where...
It was not that.
No, it was that.
It was
yeah.
that.
So this was the tile. This was over here somewhere, and there was a tile in front of the boat so that the boat had to move onto that tile. There were no other tiles in front, and Nick used this right here to swap the token in front of the boat with this token right here. So I had to step onto this, which means I had to take it, and that was a detraction of 5 points at the end of the game for me. He also had the most shrimps, so he got the...
I like shrimp.
Yes, he does, in real life too. So he got the extra 8 points for the shrimp as well. So he performed very, very well. Definitely the most valuable fisher person on our little island. Not me.
I don't know if I'd feed a lot of people. I feel like I did a jerk move. It's like, I'm the best fisherman, and I can only feed like 2 of you.
I was actually thinking about that. In the rules, they're like, okay, we all have to share one boat, and the entire island is depending on us to bring in enough food for everybody. But we're gonna be like, oh yeah, well, I'm the best fisherman. Look at all the fish that I caught, and you're a sucky fisherman because you didn't catch that many fish. Like, can't we not be...
Why are we being competitive right now?
Yeah, like we have there's people depending on us for food. Like, we should put all that aside for right now and, try to collect the most fish as possible to feed everybody. But yeah, apparently we're very, very
very cutthroat.
Caveman-esque. I am the
Yeah.
best provider, kind of thing.
Oh my.
Yeah, so like I said, I am not the best fisherman. I would be relegated to the island to read or to weave palm reeds or something like that. I don't know, but not sent out to fish, I don't think.
Mercy. So what did you think of the game?
Well, the production is very nice.
Yeah, these are
nice,
these are
solid
really nice.
pieces. It looks nice. It's a bright, but not obnoxious kind of art. I think the gameplay itself is a little bland. Literally the only thing you can do on your turn is just make one move adjacent to where you are now. And it does present some choices, right? There's very much okay, if I move here, then I'm allowing my opponent to potentially move here, here, or here. And if they move there, then I can move over here. So there's very much a chessy sort of feel, that think several moves ahead kind of thing. But the decisions...
I don't think it's a great 2-player.
The decisions aren't that interesting, even if they take a lot of thought process. Even if you're if I go here, then he's going to have to do this, which means I can do this. They're not that interesting to me. So I'm interested to see what it would be like as a 3 or 4-player game, because like I said at the beginning, when you play with 3 or more players, not only do you score your own fish, but you also score the fish to one of your neighbors. So there's a little bit more of in this game, Nick strategically ended the game early because that was worth a lot of points for him. But if my neighbor would have been doing really well, then because I would have gotten to add together my score and that of my neighbors, I might have actually been able to do better.
Or feed the person that's going to come to you. I tried to think it out that far where you're like, well, I'll get this, you'll get this, but then the person I also feed off against will also get this.
Yeah, so there's kind of a semi-cooperative balance to the game with 3 or more players. I'm interested to see what that feels like, but right now, as a 2-player game, I feel like there are a lot of other 2-player games that do something similar to this that are a lot more engaging to me, a lot more compelling, a lot more interesting. than this was. But maybe at 3 or 4 players, it gets better.
Yeah, because it was kind of like a little sad, honestly, when I was able to finish it. Yeah, I won, but like, I don't know, it didn't feel like I had to, it didn't take that long to do so. And it was just kind of like, well, I kind of want more out of the game.
Well, and I would like to say that, like, perhaps that's because we're not well-matched players, like, skill-wise.
I don't believe that.
But I was going to say, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think that that's just me being a little bit self-deprecating and trying to give the game a little bit more credit. But I don't know that that's necessarily accurate or fair to the game or myself. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I'd be interested to see how it plays at a higher player count. As it stands right now as a 2-player, I feel like it's kind of boring, kind of lax.
I feel like it's one of those games that tried to be a 2-player, and it really should have been a 3+ player count, because it's just the movements within the game. Just, I mean, look at that. Look how many pieces we still have on the board. That's probably a little more than half the board right there. That still hasn't been touched.
I do think as a 3 or 4 player game, there is a lot more strategy that starts to factor in than as a 2-player game. And I think because of that additional layers of strategy, then it's probably also more interesting.
Well, this was our vlog and our thoughts and discussion on Tonari from IDW Games. What are your thoughts? Have you played this before with a higher player count? Let us know in the comments. Alright, well, we'll get to you guys next time when we play another game in our next vlog, so toodles!